Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And I'm so pleased that everybody's here to see us today. It's going to be a fun show, I think. If I can figure out which country I'm from, that would be helpful, because we have a great guest, and if you are a woman or like women or want to be like a woman, then you need to listen to this conversation, because Liz Rodriguez is a coach, and she helps women to live their lives a little bit better, both, I think, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And she does a really cool job, and she should be doing a cool job. Fortunately, she's in the AC in South Carolina, which is now it's like 102 and the humidity's 110 or some silly thing like that. Liz, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, thank you. As you know, we've had to reschedule because I had a little boo-boo, and now the boo-boo's all fixed now, and thanks to I have a wonderful surgeon who fixed my little boo-boo, and so now I'm all good, and I'm excited for this conversation. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
So tell me about Liz Rodriguez.
Yeah. Ooh, where do we start? I'll give the Reader's Digest version. I love that. You all remember Reader's Digest. But yes. I'm a transformation coach. I am based in Chicago, but we're spending the summer in South Carolina. I am one of those people that, I was an athlete most of my life through college. When I got out, I became a personal trainer and just kind of fell in love with it. I spent most of my career in management. So I was both training and managing really over the last 16, 17 years. And then I went out on my own a couple of years ago to really start to kind of hone in, I guess you could say, on what is my purpose. I absolutely loved working in the gyms and being in the settings and running teams. But really when it came down to it, I wanted to get a little bit more, I guess you could say, in the weeds. And I found health coaching. And actually, it really started to change how I took care of myself as I was getting into my 40s. So fast forward to 2025, I work with women, a lot of former athletes, a lot of type A personalities, competitive like myself. And really my mission is whether I'm working with that person one-on-one, or maybe they're going to listen to this podcast and be inspired. I just want women to know that there's different ways to work with your health and wellness, and that you don't have to feel like it needs to be one way. And that's really my goal, is to make it more accessible and make more women feel like they're empowered to take care of themselves. So yeah.
I love on your website where it says, and you don't have to eat just chicken and broccoli.
Right. Yeah. Cause I think there's a lot of rules out there in terms of, it depends on how nitty gritty we want to get. But I think there's a lot of rules out there that I think women feel that they need to follow. They need to look a certain way. They need to be a certain way. They need to eat certain food and do certain workouts. And that's just not the case. We gotta break down those walls.
I agree with you. Would you explain to me the thing about false eyelashes? Why some women have to have? I'm not ready until I have my eyelashes on. I have no idea what that means, but explain that to me, because to me that's a societal expectation that is without merit or basis in fact. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I've never done any of the fake eyelashes and stuff. I'm fairly low maintenance. Although, those of you, in case you're not watching the show and you listen later, I did straighten my hair. And that's kind of a societal thing, mostly because my hair is crazy in the summer, right? Does everyone remember Monica from Friends, like when they went on the vacation? And that's kind of like what happens. And I was like, well, I got to straighten my hair for the podcast so it looks good, and it's kind of a societal thing, right?
Yeah, yes, indeed. And it should not be because, by the way, your hair is beautiful, but
Oh, thank you.
also if it was real curly and out there, and it would still be beautiful. It's just a unique way for you to do it. Now, you were an athlete when you were young, and so you work with type A personalities. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of them are in the WNBA these days. Have you watched
Mhm.
any of the aggressiveness that some of these gals go at each other?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think what's cool about that though is that, even having the WNBA, like, we are finally getting to a point with professional sports with women that I think that they can tap into like who they are as an athlete. And like I was a college runner, so I was not I didn't have to get physical with anybody. Technically, some of those cross country meets you could get physical because, you had hundreds of people all at the starting line at the same time. But for the most part, it was fairly hands off. But I loved it because I got to work really, really hard at something. And I loved working out. And it like tapped into that. And not only that, I think especially for women in sports, it teaches us how to be on a team and how to like work together. It teaches us how to be competitive, which for a lot of us, depending on your age and how you grew up, I think a lot of us sort of grew up the whole you're going to play house and you're going to get along with everybody and you're going to, you know what I mean?
Oh
I
yeah.
think about all these things more as I get older. And I think it comes up a lot in my coaching with people where we're getting that whole supposed to. I'm supposed to do this. You know what I mean? And it's like, we have to keep asking that question, but why? Where does that come from? And like, what do you want? Whether that's, I want to be an athlete or I don't want to be an athlete or I want to do like whatever that is, whether it's your career or your fitness, really getting to the bottom of like, but what is it that you really want? Like, what's your purpose and like, how can you fulfill that? And then how do I help you along the way? That's the great thing with coaching. Coaching is different. I was a trainer and I still am a trainer, but training is more telling people what to do, right? Coaching is more, hey, let's work together and let's figure out how can we make you the best version of you, you know?
And the cool thing, what I love about coaches, and by the way, everybody should have a coach. I have a
Mm-hmm.
coach.
I have a
Uh,
coach.
Everybody needs one because your coach, if they're good, can look at you and can see things in you that you don't see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really hard. You look in the mirror and it's backwards anyway. And so, you really don't get a chance to see who you really are. And your significant other and your family, they're not going to tell you the absolute truth because they don't want to hurt your feelings and stuff. And so it's great to have somebody that says, when you say something that says, so what did you mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
Deep down inside, why are you saying it like that and stuff? Because it makes us think at a different level about why we say what we say and do what we do. And especially women, I tell you, you guys, I've been a man most of my life. And I'm afraid I can't prevent that. but but the reality is, you guys put up with so much. Not only do you have the kids, and then you raise the kids, and then you do all of these service things that you take care of everybody else. And oh, by the way, if the guy can't make enough money, so you help with that too. And then you make sure so the last person that's on the list is yourself.
Correct.
It makes it so hard.
It does. And I think that it's always a combination of you have to look at that person. And it's something that I pride myself on. Like, I think this is really why I wanted to flip and start to do the coaching full time was, when I was, I don't like to say manager, when I was a leader, and I was a good leader, I had people that came back and still visited me. They were like, you were a good boss. I was like, I was, because I really, really tried to listen, like, who is this person? Where are they going? And like, what do they want? Like, what's going to make them successful? How can we make them the best possible version of themselves? And I don't think that there's a lot of like leaders out there that really do that. And you need to have that. Like, that's how 99% of the time people need someone to lead them. There's always going to be the 1% of people that they just like wake up and they're amazing. Like, I'm reading a book right now about Theodore Roosevelt. He was one of them. Okay. Like, I think that he would have just whatever. It's like a whole nother day. But I think most people need those mentors, those key people in their lives that are going to help them. Either it's like slapping them in the face one day or like saying, I really think you should do this, to help them along, you know? And I think for women, we need those people because we don't ask ourselves those questions. Like, what is it that I want? Like, what do I need? And I really, as I say, I'm the coach, so I don't tell them. I just facilitate the conversation to help open up to say, what is, you know, like, why are you here? Like, why do you want to lose the weight? Or like, why do you want to get stronger? How is that going to play out in your life? And we do that not only so that we can get to the bottom of like what's driving them, it's also going to help keep them on pace, because as you mentioned, all those things are going to come up. Family's going to come up, kids are going to come up, career is going to come up. So how do we make sure that they're going to continue to put themselves first, right?
When they have been, now correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've been told, societal pressures are such that it's like, wow, you know what, you're a little girl and you're going to be prim and you're going to be proper and you're going to mind your cues and you're going to stay in your place and stay in your lane and you're going to be quiet and then you're going to be pretty and just sit there and stuff. And then as you grow older, all of these societal things come on, of expectations of what you're expected to do, rather than living like you really mean it and want to do what you feel. And so you bury it. At least it seems to me that a lot of people bury their ambitions and their thoughts about who they can really be and what they can really do, because they keep getting told by family and friends and all, oh no, stay in your lane, Liz, don't do that. That's way outside the box. You know, you did have a job and you got your family and stuff like that. So we encourage people not to really live fully, it seems to me.
Yeah. And I think I was fortunate enough that my parents were always they always led with like, there were some rules growing up. One of them was like, you're going to go to college. I don't know what you're going to study and I can't help you get into college, but you need to go. Right. They would laugh, but like, they're going to listen to this and be like, yep. You know, like they always, whatever I wanted to do, like you want to do sports, we're going to sign you up for sports. We're going to take you to practice. You want to do speech team, do speech team. You want to do that. You want to do running camp. I know I went to running camp. I also went to music camp. Like whatever you want to do, we're going to support you. And I think that that's really important. It doesn't always mean that they understood what I was doing. Like when I started working in fitness, they were like, so is this like a long-term plan? I'm like, I mean, I think so, you know. Once I got into management, they were like, oh, now she's got the title. Okay, now we're feeling better. But that's, you know, that's not just a female thing. I think that we're getting to the point where the idea of work and careers is slowly evolving. But I think for my parents, when it was always a little weird where they're like, my daughter's a training manager. And they're like, what does that mean? You know, what does she do all day? And as I progressed and stuff, it's like, it all made sense and everything. But I think that they were always supportive to say, you know, make your own money, marry for love, and, you know, like, just do what you want to do. And it doesn't mean that everything was perfect and stuff, but I did grow up in a family business. So I definitely had a lot of values instilled in terms of like, work hard, whatever you put in, you're going to get out, and just keep going. And I think my dad always said, like, you know, 90% of life is bullshit. You know, you got 10%, you got to have the smarts, and the other 90% is just get the street smarts going and you're going to be good.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of wisdom to that.
Yeah.
You know, because, and I assume he was an entrepreneur then.
He was, yeah. So my parents had a commercial landscaping business for several decades.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so when it came time, you know, it was offered to all of us. There's three girls, and we all said, no, thank you, but no. And so they wound up selling it and everything, but it was, they worked really, really hard. And so I think also we learned growing up, like, I think there was something in me that said, figure out what you really, really love. And, you know, you never work a day in your life. And I never felt like, I mean, I worked really hard and I still do, but it doesn't feel like it, you know?
No,
when you get to work with people and you're the best part of their day, like, that's amazing. Not everybody gets to do that, you know?
And that's what we would love to change, because
Yes.
more people need to feel, excuse me, more people could choose to feel that way if they wanted to, rather than to obey all of the societal pressures and things that are, and the expectations that people put on them. But the real big thing is that a lot of us don't have any idea how. And some of, I'm willing, well, we need to take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about, I'm willing to bet that you have clients or people that have worked with you that when you say, okay, so what do you want to do? And they say, I don't know. I have no earthly idea. I could be wrong, but we'll talk about that when we come back. And by the way, if you're a real estate agent, you need to listen to this.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Liz, could you hear that music just there?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, it's we have technical issues sometimes, but I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it worked for you. And now the question I had for you was, do you remember it? That was so long ago.
Yeah, I do remember.
Well,
so you asked me in terms of like when I work with people and I ask them kind of like,
oh yeah.
Accomplish, yeah, and they go, I don't know. And you know what? I love this question because it's something that I used to think about a lot, like when I was in the clubs. And you have to so think about the setting. When I talk about the clubs, I'm talking about commercial fitness gyms, meaning that, people made the decision to walk in, they signed up for a membership, and then they went ahead and they signed up for, everybody calls it something different, onboarding session, new member session. And they sat down with me. And so many times I would get a lot of cookie cutter answers, right? And let's just stick with the women. They come in and they say, I want to lose weight and I want to tone up. And after hearing this like thousands of times, I started kind of asking them back, is that what you want? Is that really what you want? And it wasn't like I was trying to be mean or anything like that. It was just more of, is that what you think that I want to hear? Or is that really what you want? And fast forward, so now that as I'm coaching women one-on-one and they come to me, it really, I ask better questions now, which I think really, really helps, tell me more in terms of how you want to look and feel. And then from there, it's, why is that important to you? What's the, and it's really peeling back the layers and reflecting back so that they can hear. And it's well, does that make sense? This is what I'm hearing. Is this what you want? And sometimes it takes a little bit, I find that the best clients are the ones that they've probably come to a couple of my workshops and we've maybe chatted a couple times and maybe we had a free session, 3 months ago, and then they come back and it's they have to get to this point, right? They have to get to the point when they're ready to make the investment in themselves and also that they're ready to answer those questions. Because those are hard questions.
They are real. Well, and that's why you need a coach, because you don't ever ask yourself those questions and sometimes you even lie to yourself when you're, or it's like, if you're married and your husband says, honey, I wouldn't wear those jeans anymore if I were you. And it's well, why not? Well, they're kind of, they don't fit you anymore. And it's well, oh. And then they say, well, okay, I'll go to the gym. As a reaction to somebody else in their life, rather than I want to feel good for me.
Yeah. And that's that's not a silly thing either.
Oh, it's a huge thing.
right?
It's a huge thing. When you are running from hither and yon and playing Uber for the kids and chef for the dinners and housekeeper and working and doing all that stuff, and also being a cohabiting member of your marriage, all of those stuff, it's tiring, and having a lot of energy and feeling good about yourself is paramount to feeling good about anything, I think.
Yeah, and I think that we have a lot of things against us, the food that we eat and, social media and everything. And it's more of just like the distractions, right? Of course, I'm not going to remember the stolen focus. If you guys are interested in getting more in terms of more of just how everyone's focus is off. And when we think about how our brains work and our focus and everything and stuff, and it's taking away, it's so easy for us to distract ourselves, right? Like, how many people willingly sit with themselves in quiet? That's why people don't want to meditate, right? Like, oh no, I don't want to know. I could not sit still. Really? Like, why not? What else do you need to be doing? I think that we kid ourselves sometimes in saying that we don't have enough time to do the things. I think that it's so hard sometimes to know actually how to prioritize. And that's Liz's job sometimes, to sort of reflect back and say, this is what I'm hearing. This is what you want, but look at your day, right? Like, it's not lining up. And there was I don't remember what book it was from, and I'm sure a lot of people have said this, but there's basically you have room for 3 things in your life, right? Whether it's work and family and golf or something like that. And I think about that a lot. Like, if you could invest just 3 areas, what would they be? And how would that change how you wake up every morning and the decisions that you make and the choices? You know what I mean?
Yep. It's a big deal. But how many people that you know of, and during the course of this show, I want to encourage people to stay with it, because Liz is going to give us some tips and some thoughts and some ideas on how you can change your perception of yourself and your mentality so that you can do things in a different way, perhaps something that perhaps it's different than anything you've ever done. And because who is it out? Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I think that's close. And the reality is that you cannot, but you may never have, and it may not have been something that wasn't considered ladylike or whatever it was. By the way, and I just wanted to mention, they have actual running camps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I had no idea.
We ran 3 times a day. I know, it sounds crazy. Pavo running camps. Anyone listen? If you went, it was awesome.
Yeah, I went to a baseball camp. I mean, that makes some kind of sense to me. But a running camp was like, okay, so I'm gonna eat breakfast, then I'm gonna go run. No, I'm gonna run first, then I'm gonna eat breakfast, then I'm gonna run again, and then I'm gonna eat lunch, and then I'm gonna run again, and then I'm gonna eat dinner, and then I'm gonna collapse, or something like that.
We had some journaling time. You know what was crazy? I went to camp with some people that wound up, because we were from all different states, and they went on to be state champions and people that were running in college. And it was really when I got very, very serious about running. Not that I don't have any gold medals or anything, guys. I was a walk-on in college. And anyways, I wasn't very good, but I enjoyed it. And it was something that gave my life a lot of structure and a lot of purpose. And it just, I don't know. I think it was kind of what kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always felt like I was one step away from absolute havoc. I live a pretty boring, very simple, structured life and stuff, but I always felt like I was one step away from chaos. So running was one of those things that kept me in line.
Exactly. And that's one of those things, and I think you'll agree with this, that if you change your language, because language is a big deal when you're talking about yourself. I had, do you remember the old Etch-a-Sketch?
Yeah.
I had an associate of mine, and we were talking the other day, and she said to somebody else, she said, "I'm just a horrible person," because she forgot to do something, and I said, "I want you to go get an Etch-a-Sketch, and I want you to write in the Etch-a-Sketch, 'I'm just a horrible person,' and I want you to erase the Etch-a-Sketch and never say those words again for the rest of your life." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you're not a horrible person." And to even put that into the world that you are a horrible person is not something that is, not only it's not necessary, but it's a way for you to not get what you really are looking for in life. And people say, "Oh, it's just words." What do you think about words? Are they as important as I think they are?
I'm not really a gym person. Right? Like, I'm just giving an example.
Exactly.
Very important, because I think it's very important because you are telling your brain, like, I don't fit in with that, or like, I can't make that change. And I think it's really important. Like, your words, like, where did they come from? Like, why would you say that? You know, we can only be self-deprecating so much.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and the reality is that when you are self-deprecating, at one point in your brain believes what you just said,
Correct.
Even though it's not true.
Mm-hmm. And it also really goes along the lines of, I'll pull some of my science out from all my studying with my health coaching, is because we learn a lot about positive psychology, right? And we learn about positive emotions and negative. Positive emotions are very fleeting. Like, we have to hold on to them. But negative emotions are very sticky. It has to do with our evolution. And a lot of the things, as we go into, and I'm sure we're going to be talking a little bit on nutrition and stuff, a lot of the things when I talk about how the body works and nutrition and things, it's, we've only evolved so far. Like, we've evolved to be upright Homo sapiens, and we like beat out all the other human species, right? Beat out Homo erectus and Neanderthals and all them. But really the only big difference between us and our closest ancestor, which is bonobos, is our storytelling skills. That's it. It's the only thing that really, it's 99.4% we're the same with DNA. So anyways, when we come back to, how our brains work and how our bodies work and stuff, I think, it's very important that people understand that, we were set up for survival, which is why the negative emotions are so sticky. And so it's very important. One of my best friends is an energy healer. And when I get really upset about things and stuff, she said, "It's okay for you to be upset. I want you to work through that. And then I need you to let that go, because you don't want to be putting those neural grooves in. You got to let that stuff go." And that's why, and with happiness and all those things, this is why I talk a lot about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation with my clients. And that's just the real easy answer is like, are you doing it because of something internal? Or are you doing it for something external, right? Like, do you just want to look good because you want other people to think that you're cool? Or do you want to lose the weight because you're like, I want to feel healthy and I want to like I want to live a longer life and I want to see my grandkids and all that stuff. Those are very different motivations. And it's important that, we hold on to the happy times, we let go of the negative times, and we ask ourselves those questions. Like, we have this amazing human brain. Like, what is it? What is your purpose? Why is that important to you? Right? Otherwise, we're just running around chasing money all day. That's what we're doing.
And if you don't have, well, we need to take our halftime break, because I really want to ask you this. Doesn't everybody feel like they've got a purpose, or are some people so busy and so superficial in everything that they do and the people that they know and all of that, that the thought never crosses their mind, why am I really here? What is my passion and what am I here to do? So I'd like to explore that, and then we're going to talk about nutrition. So stay right where you are, because even though I love chicken, you don't have to eat chicken all day. At least that's what Liz tells us. And by the way, Liz, give us, if someone wants to contact you, your website, please.
Oh yeah, LizRodriguezCoaching.com.
That's so complicated.
I know. I can't believe I got that domain. I was shocked.
Well, you know what though? I firmly believe that when you got that domain, that's because that was the domain that was meant for you to have to do the work that you're doing.
True.
So there. We need to take our halftime break. We'll be right back. Don't go away, anybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Liz Rodriguez. That's her. That's her. She's right over there. That's her. You know, Liz, I play that commercial because it just galls me that there are 4 million kids in the United States of America that are either homeless or hungry. And I firmly believe that we can do something about that. And I really wish that we would, because we could if we chose to. So I want to. So in talking about the people that you work with and the people that you run across, a lot of is it that some people don't even think, it doesn't even cross their mind that they can do something with passion, with gusto, because they're so busy and they're burned out and they're tired and they can't do anything else? Or is there innate in us, each of us, this burning desire to find out who we are, why we're here, and what contribution we can make? What do you think it is, and why don't more people act on it?
So, I'm going to get a little woo here.
Oh, go ahead.
And I mean, I only make that joke because I'm a very monochronic kind of person, and whatever. We could go a lot of different directions with that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, we all have the life that we're living right now. We don't know how many other lives that we've had, and we could talk about that on a different podcast, right? But I look at people and I think that, you're on the path that you want to be on for this life. What is that? And it doesn't always mean, I think if you're doing it with passion, not everyone is going to be the same, right? Like, we don't want everyone to be an entrepreneur. If everybody was an entrepreneur, I don't think that we'd be able to function as a society, right? Not everyone wants to have kids. Other people, that's what they want to do. I think it's really a matter of saying, what is it that you want? And also owning up to that and saying, this is what I want to do with my life. No matter what it is, whether it's, and I got a job and it's it's okay, it pays the bills, but it allows me to travel and I want to do this and I get to see my friends and I get to, whatever it is, I think it's really just asking yourself, what are the things that are important to you? And then how do you build your life around that? My husband and I live a crazy life. We really do. We haven't lived anywhere permanently for 4 years. We do a lot of travel. We have virtual clients. We're in South Carolina because we got an Airstream and you got to pay for the Airstream. So I'm teaching at some studios for Pilates in South Carolina. And that's what we're doing this summer, because that's what we wanted to do. And we figured out how to make it happen, So I think that everyone has a purpose. I think sometimes it's not always what we think though, right? Sometimes the purpose isn't going to be a happy one either. Everyone has their journey, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but.
And no, it's very good. It's very deep. And because we can delve even more into that, because, I have been told by, people on the on the TV set and other stuff like that, they'll say, this is the one life that you have to live. And when I hear that, it's like, but wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense at all to me, because all I know right now at my age is that I'm a slightly pudgy white guy from Seattle, Washington. I don't have any idea what it's like to be a tall black woman from Nairobi, or to be living in a different way, or different manner of all kinds of different things. And it seems to me like we should all be celebrating, first of all, celebrating our differences, but also that there's got to be more to it. There's more to it than what we know right now. And I'm a firm believer in that. And some people are, some people don't. Some people say this is the only life that you're ever going to have. And then you're going to go sit on a cloud someplace, or you're going to go burn in hell. You get to pick. But I don't care, because for me, that doesn't make any sense at all. And so when you talk in terms like that, it's like, and so I think, correct, and tell me if you think this is right, Liz. I think we we have a responsibility to ourselves to live our best life possible, and to be kind, and to be loving, and to be caring to other people. I think that is why we're here, and I think it's an ultimate responsibility. What do you think?
I think so too. And we have to level set, right? Like the people listening, like, we're living in a first world country. Like, we are on a podcast right now. We're on a computer. You know what I mean? Like, this is amazing. Like, we are living up here. And I think sometimes it's those people that struggle with things the most, because we have everything that we need.
Yep.
We could argue on that. But I mean, in terms of like the hierarchy of needs, we're good to go. And I think sometimes when you have all the basics, you struggle in terms of like, well, then where do I go from here? And I think about this a lot. I think we all do. With the world that we live in right now, is how do I make sure that I'm finding my purpose, and how do I make sure that I'm like putting a little good out into the world every single day? I think that's, that's always like a good place to start. And something else, especially for all the women listening that are like, I don't have time for these things. Like, what is she talking about? It's like, you know what? We're going to use the airplane example. When you're in the airplane and you're going down, and they're like, put the oxygen mask on. Are you supposed to put yours on first, right?
Yep.
So then you can make sure you can help everybody else. And I think about that every day, where if I'm not trying to become the best person possible, then how do I help all of these other people? And that doesn't always, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
If we want to make a more positive world, then we really, and it's not about being selfish. It's about saying like, well, I need to take care of myself then.
Well, and you're right, because the reality is, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Correct.
Very sad story that happened to my cousin-in-law last week. Her father died. And so she came up here, and they were working on putting the house together and all of that kind of stuff. And she hadn't taken very good care of herself, and she wasn't doing very well. And she overdid. Well, she burst a blood vessel in her brain, and they had surgery, and she passed away. And the only reason that I tell that story is you never know how long you got before. And so it's important for you to treat every day when you get up in the morning, and you treat every day like it's an important aspect of your life, and how you treat other people when you go to the grocery store, when you're talking to the gas station attendant, when you're just talking to other people. It's important for you to do that on a daily basis, because you don't know. But the impact you can have, Liz, I've told this story before, but it kind of bears repeating. I was a bus driver for 12 years in Seattle, and I would carry 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70 or 80 people around in my bus, and I could change the mindset of the entire bus by my attitude. We all had that ability. Yes. And so if you want to change your mindset and change those around you, you have the ability to change your friends, family, everybody by you, nobody else. just you. But you got to be in good shape and you got to feel good about yourself to do that. And that's why you're so important.
Thank you. And I think I want people to know that it's not, sometimes the happiest people are sometimes the most unhappy. Not that I was ever super, super unhappy, but I think I struggled a lot of finding my purpose in everything because I was so focused in terms of like the money aspect of it, right? Of like, well, I'm like, how am I going to make a living? And then people are not going to take me seriously. And all these things like go through your head. And I think between that, I went through a lot of transition and stuff with the whole running thing and having back surgery and all that stuff. And I talked about this on a different podcast where we were talking about how I always wonder like, well, why did my back break and other people's don't? And it's like, well, why did I beat the crap out of myself for so long? Like, where does that come from? Like, what those athletes out there? And I'm like totally serious about this. Like, we love what we do, but like sometimes we're pushing ourselves to the brink. Why do we do that? Where does that come from? Because there's the good part and then there's the maybe not so good part. And what I encourage the people listening is that if you're not really sure where to start when we're talking about taking care of ourselves and asking those questions, it's just like, why do you think that you deserve a good life? Like what makes you happy? What makes you unhappy? Like sometimes it's those simple questions, because I thought a lot like after my back surgery and stuff, like, why did this happen to me? And like, why does it happen to other people and all that stuff? And everything is fine. Liz is healed. All is good. But there was a part of me that like what I love doing actually broke me. And that took a lot of sort of searching of like, why did this happen? And then like, what does this mean? And then what do I do with this information? Like, how do I instill this in other people? So when people come to me and they're frustrated with themselves, a lot of it just comes down to I cannot tell you how to rearrange your day. I can't tell you how to put these things in. I can only tell you like, these are the things that are going to help your health, but I can't make you do anything. We cannot change anyone. We cannot physically change anyone. They have to change themselves. So all I can do is create the atmosphere and the opportunity and the space for people to ask those questions. And in a lot of the beginning parts of my coaching, so I have my little strength and longevity method, and it starts a lot with rewiring their brain, of asking the question like, why do you think like that? Why do you do things like that? It has to start there, because if we can't have them start to think about how they want to change themselves, all the other stuff, like I can give you the fitness program, I can give you the nutrition and everything, but if you're not really willing to change anything else, it's just going to kind of fall on dead ears. Nothing's going to happen. Right?
Now, do you ever tell anybody that you're sitting there having a conversation and they're your client and they start telling you stories? Well, and this is why this happened and why this is why. Do you ever stop them and say, no, that's just a story. That's just a story that your brain made up or that you made up. It's not serving you well. You need to get rid of it so that you can live your life better. Does that ever come up at all?
No, I mean, I used to get more of those stories when I was in commercial fitness because I was like in management and stuff. So meaning like I was meeting with people that they were coming in for their free session, which means that they didn't become a client, but those would be the people that I would listen to and know like they're just not ready for any change. And I would listen and I would say, tell me how I can help you. And I would give any information that I could, but I knew that right at that point, they were not ready to change. And that was one of the reasons why I became a health coach. And the reason for that was I felt like that's where the conversation would stop. In commercial fitness, I have a person in front of me, they've invested in the gym, but they don't actually want to change anything. And I'm like, well, that's where I end, right? Like I'm going to see them and anytime they need any help and stuff, I'm going to be there. But that was where the conversation ended versus with the health coaching, it was more of, and I think a lot of people know like the stages of change. I had better tools in my toolbox to say, it sounds like this person's in pre-contemplation right now, or they're in contemplation. How do I move the conversation forward so that they start going towards preparation and action? I didn't have those skills before. And so that's a lot of like what I'm doing with people. Because a lot of times they'll come in and it's like, okay, I got to work on my workouts, Liz. Okay, great. What about nutrition? Oh no. I'm not changing anything with that. I'm not giving up my wine. Okay. So that, where are we at with that? They're in pre-contemplation. It's not even on their radar. It doesn't, and I don't know when we're going to get on that. Depends on how the coaching goes. But again, I can't tell them, well, we need to work on nutrition though too. That's not for me to say, you know?
Oh no! Now you were the manager of a industrial gym, or one of the bigger ones, right? And I wanted to ask you before we take this break, which is our last break. Is it true that I sound like a prosecuting attorney? Is it true, Liz, that after New Year's Eve and everybody has too much to eat and drink, and then they make a New Year's resolution and they all join the gym, and it's real busy in January, less so in February, and by March it's back to the way it was? Is that true?
Yes and no, it depends. I worked in a lot of, I guess you could say, higher end gyms, so the price was higher. So over the last several years, we saw less of a January boom, but like, I'm a member of Planet Fitness, if you guys know, and so it's $10 a month, or now it's 15, I think. They finally they raised their rates after 25 years, guys. You see more of an influx there because the barrier to entry is so much lower. So you do see that a lot, but not as much, I think, in, I guess you could say, like the regular gyms, the gyms that are going to be a little bit more money. I don't think we've seen a New Year's like that in several years. It's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So if you are interested in nutrition, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to turn Liz loose on you guys to let her tell you about nutrition and how you can improve it so that you can live. So go while this commercial is playing, and it's a great commercial, but while it's playing, get a pad of paper and a pencil so you can write some of this stuff down. And by the way, you can always go to LizRodriguezCoaching.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, very nice. And so there. See, I don't need... never mind. We'll be right back after this.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Liz Rodriguez. Hey, I even rolled my R's. That was kind of an unforced error kind of thing. But Liz Rodriguez is with us, and go to LizRodriguezCoaching.com. And I'm going to turn you loose, young lady, because a lot of people, nutrition is a big deal right now because there is a lot of food out there, and there's a lot of types of stuff that we should not be eating because of the environment that it's grown in and all that kind of stuff. But setting that aside, give us your thoughts on proper nutrition for somebody that either wants to lose weight, gain weight, or just feel better.
Yeah, and I'll go super high level because I know that you have a very wide audience and things. And so actually, I'm going to take a little bit more of a step back. And really the first thing that I do with people, like as they say, okay, I know I need to work on nutrition, but I don't know where to start. And I really look at it as more of what are going to be the biggest impactful things that they can do, right? So I start with, one is, the first thing I ask is, how much water do you think you drink a day? And if you don't know the answer to that, we already know that it needs to be more, right?
Right.
And so as we're talking about, so let's just state, we're going to do three different things. We're going to start with water. And the first thing is, they're like, I'm not really sure, maybe a couple glasses. So the thing that I always ask is, all right, let's look at your day. I'm going to pull a little bit of Atomic Habits out here. So if you guys have read Atomic Habits, James Clear, it's all about kind of like stacking. Habit stacking is, all right, so what's something that you do every single morning? Everybody usually like brushes their teeth, right? It's kind of like standard. Or something like that, right? Like a daily habit in the morning. I say, great, right after or right before, put a glass of water by that toothbrush, drink a glass of water. Just start there. because we already know then that you're going to have an extra glass of water every single day than you did before. Right.
Yeah.
So I try to say, what is an impactful habit? Water. 2, where are we going to put it? And then move on. The next big thing that I talk about with them is, how when we look at their day and we look at their food, and they hate when I do this, but I said, write down right now everything that you ate yesterday. And this is not about judgments. It's just about, I need to see a snapshot. I need to know, who am I talking to here? Are we going to be having the conversation of, hey, you need to go to McDonald's less? Or are we having the conversation of, you're not eating enough? Or we need to have the conversation of, you need to cook more, but you don't know how. And that's the whole thing with nutrition. It's level setting. I do the comparison to, I'm a fitness person. Okay. So if you start talking about software with me, there's certain softwares that I know, and there's certain softwares that are going to go way over my head. So if you don't meet me with where I'm at, it's just going to be all gibberish. Right. So the next big thing is, as we're looking at that journal of that day, I'll say, okay, great. What do you think went well yesterday? What's one thing that you think you did well? And they're like, you know what? I had 2 pieces of fruit. I think that was good. And I was like, great. What's something that you could have done better at? Oh, my breakfast kind of stinks. Okay. What do you think is not good about it? Well, it's like, I eat it and then I feel like crap afterward. Okay. It's crazy like that we do things every day that we don't even think about until someone asks. So how do you think you can improve the nutrition? And you see what I'm doing here is that I'm guiding the conversation, but they're talking to me. And it's not until they say, well, I'm not really sure what I could eat instead. That's where then Liz is going to put on the nutrition trainer hat and say, okay, let's start breaking down, like, what are some breakfasts that you like to eat? And then I'm going to help you improve upon them. So let's pretend like Liz isn't there and you heard this part of the conversation. When we're looking at your meals, and when we say meals, 3 meals a day, I try to keep it real simple. 3 meals a day, a little less snacking. Do you got any protein at each meal? Do you get any fiber in at each meal? And if you're not sure, you Google protein and you look up all the different sources. You're not sure about fiber, you look them up and you try to stick some protein and fiber in each of your meals. And with that, which is kind of number 3, is how much food are you eating and how much processed are you eating?
There's the big question.
If I gave that journal, and now we're getting a little bit past, but if your great grandmother read that food journal, what would they not recognize? That's what we mean. So that's kind of where I start. Water, what's one meal you could do better at? And then 3, how much process can we remove from there? And then fill it in with other things. Those are usually go-tos.
So let me ask you a question. If you and I were talking and I said, yeah, well, for breakfast, I love Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts are my thing. And it's like, but they're processed food. They're just purely processed crap. And there's a lot of sugar involved too.
Yeah. But what do you like about Pop-Tarts?
That I take them out of the package and put it in my mouth. So there's no waiting. It's instant gratification and I don't have to worry. But then on the other hand, I like 9-grain bread better than I like Pop-Tarts. It just takes a minute longer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's better for you. A 9-grain bread is better for you than a Pop-Tart, I'm assuming. Would that be true?
Absolutely. And what I do first is figure out, we're going to guess that they like that Pop-Tart or you like that Pop-Tart because it's convenient and it's something that you're just going to stick in the toaster or you can just take it out and eat it. So then I would try to figure out what else is either in the house right now or what they're willing to go get that's going to be a similar thing. Meaning if you said I really like my Fruit Loops in the morning, well, then we could trade that out for an oatmeal or a better cereal, right?
Yeah.
So I would look for alternatives that's actually a very similar experience on the food because we're creatures of habit. So if you want that person to follow suit, you want it to be something that there's not a lot of friction involved with the change.
Do you get some of your clients that just don't want to tell you what they're eating because they just don't want to tell you what they're eating?
Oh yeah. And I went through that with Corey Miller, if you're listening. God, I used to lie to him all the time, mostly because he ate like perfect. And at the time he was always doing bodybuilding shows. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to tell him. But you know what? And that's more, I think, of a female thing, because we tend to take food as a weapon and we internalize it, and we could go in all different directions on it. But that's why sometimes when it comes to the nutrition and everything, there's a lot of things involved in it. It's not just like how did the food wind up in the house, and like, why do you eat when you eat it? And like all these things like that are connected. So making changes with the nutrition is very different than saying like, I'm going to add a workout a week in. Nutrition is every day. And it's like, there's a Weight Watchers quote, and I don't remember how many, I shouldn't remember. I think it's 17. I think we have like 17 decisions every single day for food. So you can't avoid it. You can't eat 3 days a week. So it's something that you actually really have to work with and sort of face, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does.
Don't discount those small changes, you know?
Oh no, small change. Any change is a good change if it will limit your excess of negative, empty calories.
Correct.
Rather than something that is wholesome and nutritious and that kind of stuff. Beer comes to mind. It is just purely empty, not good for you stuff. Or a glass of wine is even a little bit better, because at least that came from a grape, kind of, I think. But by the way, we're talking with Liz Rodriguez. And Liz, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And I want you, young lady, to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know about anything about you and your work and how to get a hold of you and all that kind of good stuff, because you can help somebody.
Yeah. Well, if you made it this far, yay. I really hope that you gained some information and some motivation. And hopefully you felt my passion. That's always my biggest thing, is that I come on podcasts because I love talking about this stuff. My purpose in life is nutrition and wellness and fitness and stuff. And I really love it. So whether you come to my website at lizrodriguezcoaching.com, you can set up a free fitness roadmap call. I offer that to everyone. I was just figuring out like, where are you at and where are you trying to go? You're also going to find there, if you hop on my website, you can subscribe to my newsletter. You can find out events. Like I'm going to have a big live workshop happening at the end of July. So you'll always know kind of what's going on. And I put out blogs and Substacks every week. And I put that information out there because I think that knowledge is power, and I want to be able to share my expertise with others, right? That's like the best, when you read like something and you're like, oh my God, I learned something that I didn't know before in a subject that I want to learn more about, but I'm not sure where to start. I think that's amazing. So
isn't it amazing how when we gain knowledge, we tend to think, oh, everybody knows that. Well, the fact is, unless they've studied it, unless they know, they may not. And it's like, it can be a very influential thing to get more knowledge out there so that people can make quality decisions about their own life. And not only that, if you're a woman and you got kids, you're making nutrition decisions for those children as well. Mm-hmm. And it's important that you choose wisely, because they need to feel they need to have a lot of proper nutrition so that they can grow up good. Right?
Absolutely. And know that you're not going to have all the answers. None of us do. And that it's okay to reach out and to get guidance from other people, right? Like when I made my website, I went to somebody that was an expert at websites, and like, you know what I mean? Like you have to find those people that's what they do. So I didn't make my own website. I don't know how to do that. Could I figure it out? Maybe, but I didn't want to.
No, it would have taken you a lot longer, and it may still not be as good.
Exactly. So find those people out there that's what they do,
So if you want to be on a podcast, this is what I do every day, all day. And Liz Rodriguez, if I could speak English, that would be good, has been with us today. And I want to thank you so much for being here, my dear.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me. This is awesome.
You're going to have to come back and do it again. I'm going to make you. So thank you, Liz, and go to lizrodriguezcoaching.com. Find out all about her, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin